So I'm doing another Stalker 302 build, and I thought I'd go over how to disassemble the pedestal style heads, or just any style heads is pretty much the same. You'll either have a bolt here or a rocker adjustment nut, and you take that out and you'll pull your rockers off, and then you need a spring compressing tool like this here. They're pretty cheap, and you'll compress the springs and knock those out. So I'm just getting these prepped up. They only had 40,000 miles on them, 40 or 50, so the valves should be all good. And it's always a good idea, if you're going to reuse the valves and you're not going to grind them or freshen up the seats, which I'm not going to do on these heads. I'm just going to lap these valves back in after I clean them. So I put them in order of the way they came out here in this board, and I'll put the others across here from the other head, but that makes sure I get them back into the same place so they have the best chance for seating properly. So we're going to go ahead and take this head apart here. One other thing is, this is always great stuff when you're trying to degrease a set of heads or a motor. It comes in real handy. It works a lot better than brushing gas on them. Usually I like to boil my stuff, but if it's a cheaper build, I'm just trying to get it done quickly, and it's nothing special. Usually you can get away with gunk in it, but anyway, and you want to buy the heavy duty gunk, the heavy duty stuff, because it really clings on there and makes a difference. So anyway, you're going to take your rocker arms off here, and it really doesn't matter if you keep the same rocker arms with the valves, so that's pretty unimportant. So the trick is here is you want to take this part of the tool and put it right in the middle of the valve on the back. So that's not too terribly difficult. And you want to set your tool up so it's right at the point of where you can just give it a little tug and it should break it loose. And you want to make sure you're centered here, so when you go to pop these keepers, you don't hang up on one. And what I like to do is put something kind of in front here. Sometimes the keepers like to shoot off, and since I'm not doing this in a place where, you know, I can find them where they'd fall into the grass, I like to put something in front. So not an ideal place, but that's all I got right now. So you'll simply compress your ring compressor just like that. I pulled it back, and then you should be able to wiggle it around and pull your keepers out. So you just depress it. There it is. Sometimes the valves are a little stuck. You don't want to really hit them with anything metal. You just want to kind of get in, hit them straight with a piece of wood, and out they come. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those in there for now, so I can make sure to put them back in my board right. But I thought I'd show on these Ford heads, because sometimes you encounter some weird stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one compressed. Now, what's interesting about this is it has a keeper that holds the keepers on, actually. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, and these are the intake valves on the Fords. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch socket, because it gets right on that lip, and then give it a few taps, and now the keepers are exposed and I can grab those. And you always want to wear eye protection so you don't knock yourself in the eye. Naturally, I'm not wearing anything, but you know, that's kind of how it goes. One last thing with doing this is you always want to make sure, see, a lot of these valve springs have different retainers. So these are the exhaust valves on this particular set of heads. These are just, I think these are E6s. They're a lot like the E7s and everything else. So that rotating one is the exhaust one, and this one with the extra, the keeper for the keepers, so to speak, is the intake valve. So, and again, you don't want to go beating on that valve with anything metal, so you just kind of give it a few taps in a linear direction, and out comes the valve. So, and again, I'm going to go ahead and clean these all up and make sure I put them back in the right place, and just go ahead and lap them back in. And you want to make sure that when you're doing these swaps that you keep your surfaces clean. You want to make sure you scrape all the gaskets off really well. So we'll go take a look at this head over here. And this is what I would consider pretty prepped. I just did this a little bit ago, so it'll be good enough for the motor it's going on. But anyway, it's all clean and ready to paint when I assemble the motor. But the key thing here is there's no gasket left anywhere on this intake side, because it's really tricky to get those intake gaskets to seal anyhow. So you don't want to be fighting old gaskets. So it's imperative that you sit down with a paint scraper and you can sharpen it. I just sharpened it on a grinding wheel, and you go around and you work all that gasket off. So that's really important. But anyway, that's really all there is to disassembling heads. There you have it. I want to make one more note, and usually, like I said, I boil my heads so I don't really worry too much about all the cleanup. But what you always want to do before you take your heads into the machine shop is you want to get all these gaskets off really well, because when they go to boil it, the boiling process doesn't take the gaskets off. So again, it's imperative that you clean up your mating surfaces so you can get a good seal the next time and you don't have to do it again.